Mike McDaniel, coach of the Dolphins, spoke today as well. He talked about the Teddy Bridgewater, Tua Tagovailoa situation. We spent a lot of time last week talking about Teddy Bridgewater's curious answer to the question of whether he's been told what his role will be. Well, I'll keep those conversations private, created the impression the door's open. Mike McDaniel did his best to close the door.
Yes, he did.
Teddy will support Tua as the backup quarterback. It's been explicitly explained to the players. Okay, fine. Then why didn't Teddy say that last week? Why didn't he say that if that's the case? That's what I'm going to have a hard time accepting. Why didn't he come out and say that? Why do you say, well, I'll keep that between me and the coaches? Well, are you here to be a backup? Are you here to compete with your starter? Well, that's not something I want to talk about. Come on. I mean, what? You know, unless he's trying to speak it into existence, Chris, why not just admit that this is what it is? Unless it isn't.
No, I know. I mean, I think Mike McDaniel's trying to, like you said, put the toothpaste back in the bottle there a little bit. Be like, what? And I don't know. But the way that language is right there explicitly, that tells me that they led Teddy Bridgewater to believe he was the backup. They probably told him to be ready, and he's got some injury history and all that. And maybe that's where Teddy just didn't want to back down and say, I am a backup. Maybe he doesn't want that word associated with his name. I don't know. Either way, that was an egotistical, wrong thing to say. And it's not the image, again, that we know that the Dolphins have been trying to portray here ever since they got rid of Flores. That's why we were all like, what? That makes no sense there. All accounts are trying to go all in on Tua. 100%. They're trying to justify the pick at number 5. They're going to build the team and a system around him. And I don't know what Teddy did there. I don't. But I have a hard time believing that they told him he was going to compete. Maybe they said, hey, we want you to compete. We want you to push Tua. But I have a hard time thinking they said, well, we're going to battle it out in camp, and you might be able to be the starter week 1. There's a totally different – that's two different sides of the spectrum there. There's one thing, compete and push the guy. One thing, hey, we're going to give you a chance to compete to start. I have a hard time thinking that was said to Teddy Bridgewater, and that's where I think he was completely wrong and, not cool for him to say that last week.
Here's the key word for me. It's the word explicitly.
Right. That's
In that word, there's implicit frustration.
Yes.
Because you don't say it's been explicitly explained unless somebody to whom it was explained came out and said something they shouldn't have said.
I'm with you. That's what jumped out to me. Right.
Yeah, he creates the impression that he's got a chance to. No, he's been explicitly told what the deal is.
Right.
So look, either the Dolphins are trying to conceal the plan, which is possible.
Yep.
Or Teddy decided to freelance so he wouldn't have to say, yeah, I'm the backup.
Yeah, right.
I know I was a starter in Denver last year, but I'm the backup to the guy that throws 3-yard passes. That's me.
I feel like that's what kind of happened. I do. And again, I don't know, but I would have a hard time thinking that it was the other way around. I would. Not with a new head coach who's, like we talked about last week, calling Tua on the private plane, the first thing he does. Everything we've heard from that organization, yes, it seems like Bridgewater didn't want to just say it flat out that way. He's keeping hope alive, maybe, but that's not the best thing to do for the Dolphins or Mike McDaniel or that organization right now.
Well, you don't put a $3.5 million incentive package in Teddy Bridgewater's 1-year contract if you're not at least acknowledging the possibility the guy's going to play. But, I mean, Tua could get hurt. This isn't about Tua.
Exactly.
See, I think they want a backup that they can turn to in the event that Tua either gets injured or it's a disaster.
Agreed.
And then but that doesn't mean he's competing.
Yes.
Hey, Teddy, we got you here. Like we were trying to find the sweet spot, the right guy, and you're the right guy because you're not going to threaten Tua. You're going to be able to support him, but if something happens, then we know we can count on you.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing this.
Right.
And so maybe that's where he kind of thought that they were saying
like
a little bit more than they were really saying.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is he is the backup. Will there be an opportunity? Chances are, yes. In a 17-game season, Tua's going to get injured at some point because of the way he plays and the hits he's taken. We've seen it. He's not that doesn't have that thickness to him. Although at times I think maybe he does, but for the most part, he doesn't have that NFL quarterback body, and he's going to get banged up, and Teddy's going to get a chance. And maybe Teddy allowed that to become something more in his mind than it really is. Maybe that's the explanation.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.